3 days passed on the Crimson Throne, and Han Diane learned what it meant to be a prisoner of the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. He was not treated badly. That was the strange part. The room they gave him was comfortable. The bed was soft. The food was strange but good. No one hit him or hurt him or even spoke a harsh word to him. But he was still a prisoner. The door was always locked. Soldiers always stood guard outside. And he could not forget the sounds of his people dying in that cargo bay. On the third day, a woman came to see him. She was human. That surprised Diane so much that he could not speak at first. She was young, maybe 25 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She wore simple gray clothes, and there was a metal collar around her neck. "My name is Beak Gina," she said. "I am a translator. I was captured 2 years ago from a transport ship. The commander ordered me to come and explain things to you." "Explain what?" Diane asked. "Why am I here? Why did she spare me?" Gina sat down on a chair near the door. She looked at Diane with a mix of pity and something else. Curiosity, maybe. "Do you know anything about Velrani culture?" she asked. Diane shook his head. "They are monsters. They kill everyone. That is all I know." "That is what we all thought," Gina said. "But they are more complicated than that. They are not just warriors. They are also deeply spiritual. They believe in prophecies, signs from the universe. And there is one prophecy they believe more than any other. It is called the binding of stars." Diane listened, his heart beating faster. The prophecy says that some souls are marked for each other across time and space. These are called soul-marked pairs. They are destined to find each other, no matter how far apart they are, no matter how different they are. The mark appears on both of them, and when they meet, the bond wakes up. Gina pointed at Diane's wrist. "That birthmark on your arm is not just a birthmark. It is a soul mark. And the commander has one exactly like it." Diane felt sick. "That is impossible. I am human. She is Velrani. We are different species. We are enemies." "The prophecy does not care about species," Gina said quietly. "It does not care about war or hate or anything else. The Velrani believe that killing your soul mark brings eternal damnation, the worst punishment their gods can give. That is why she did not kill you." Diane stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see stars. So many stars. They looked cold and uncaring. "What does she want from me?" he asked. "I do not know. But I know this much. The commander has been searching for her soul marked for a very long time. And now that she has found you, she will never let you go." Gina left after that, and Diane was alone again. He sat on the bed and stared at the birthmark on his wrist. His grandmother had always said it was special. She had always said it meant something. He thought she was just telling stories. Now he wished she had been right about that and wrong about everything else. That night, the commander came to see him. She walked in without knocking, still wearing her dark armor. The door closed behind her, and they were alone. Diane backed away until he hit the wall. "Do not be afraid," Kira Yuna said. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. It made everything worse. "I am not going to hurt you." "You killed them," Diane said. His voice was shaking with anger now, not fear. "All those people. They did nothing wrong. And you killed them." "Yes," she said simply. "I did. And you expect me to just accept this? To be your prisoner? Your marked one? I would rather die." Kira tilted her head. Her silver eyes studied him like she was trying to understand something. "You are angry," she said. "That is fair. I have killed many of your kind. I have destroyed your ships and burned your colonies. By your laws, I am a monster. By any law, you are a monster." Kira was quiet for a moment. Then she reached up and began to remove a piece of her armor. The chest plate. Beneath it, she wore a thin black shirt. She pulled the collar aside, and Doyan saw it. A mark on her collarbone. Lines and dots forming a pattern. A constellation. It was exactly the same as his. I was born with this mark 400 years ago, Kira said. On the day I was born, the priest looked at it and told my mother that I would one day find my soul marked. They said it would be someone from a distant world. Someone from a species we had not yet discovered. My mother thought they were wrong. I thought they were wrong. And yet here you are. Diane stared at the mark. 400 years. The Varani lived for thousands of years. She had been searching for him for 4 centuries. The thought made his head spin. I do not want this, he said. I do not want to be bound to you. You are a killer. A conqueror. Everything I hate. I know, Kira said. She put her armor back on. You do not have to want it. You do not have to like it. But you cannot escape it. The bond is already waking up. You feel it, do you not? A strange warmth in your chest when I am near. A pull toward me that you cannot explain. Daim wanted to deny it. He wanted to say she was crazy. But he could not. Because she was right. There was something inside him, something he did not understand. It had started the moment she looked at him in the cargo bay. What happens now? He asked. Now, you stay here. You learn about my people. About me. And perhaps one day, you will understand why the stars chose us. And if I refuse? If I try to escape? Kira walked toward the door. She stopped and looked back at him. I have waited 400 years to find you, she said. You may hate me. You may curse my name. You may dream of killing me in my sleep. But you cannot run from the stars, Han Doyan. No one can. She left. The door locked behind her. Diane waited until he was sure she was gone. Then he began to search the room for anything he could use to escape. A weapon. A tool. A way out. He found nothing. The Varani were too smart for that. But 3 nights later, he found something else. A small ventilation shaft behind a wall panel. It was tiny, barely big enough for him to crawl through. But he was thin. He was desperate. And he would rather die trying to escape than spend another day in this prison. He waited until the guards changed shifts. Then he opened the panel and crawled into the darkness. The shaft was cold and cramped. He could barely move. He crawled for what felt like hours, following the flow of air, hoping it would lead him somewhere useful. His elbows bled. His knees ached. But he kept going. Finally, he found an opening. A storage room. Empty. He dropped down from the shaft and looked around. There had to be an escape pod somewhere. There had to be a way off this ship. He never heard her coming. One moment he was alone. The next moment, Kirayuna was standing in front of him. She had no guards. No weapons. She did not need them. That was impressive, she said. No human has ever gotten this far on my ship before. Doyam backed away, looking for a way out. There was none. Why do you not just let me go? He asked. Why do you care so much about some ancient prophecy? Kira stepped closer. Her silver eyes were softer now, almost sad. Because I have been alone for 400 years, she said. I have commanded fleets. I have conquered worlds. I have watched stars die and be born again. But I have always been alone. And then I saw you, a scared human with grease on his hands and fire in his eyes. And for the first time in centuries, I felt something. Something I thought I had lost long ago. She reached out and touched his face. Her hand was cold, but gentle. I do not expect you to love me. I do not expect you to forgive me. But please, do not make me be alone again. Diane looked into her eyes. He saw the monster who had killed his friends. But he also saw something else. Something broken. Something lonely. He pushed her hand away. "I am not your cure," he said. "And I will never stop trying to escape." Kira nodded slowly. "Then I will never stop catching you." She called her guards and had them take Do-young back to his room. But this time, there was something different in her eyes as she watched him go. Something that looked almost like hope. Han Dayan was fixing a broken water pipe when the alarm started screaming. He was deep inside the belly of the colony ship Eternal Dawn, his hands covered in grease, his mind thinking about dinner. 3,000 humans lived on this ship. They had been traveling for 2 years, heading toward a new planet where they could build a new home. Do-young was nobody special. He was just a maintenance engineer. He fixed things that broke. Pipes, machines, doors that would not open. Nobody noticed him, and he liked it that way. But when the red lights started flashing and the alarm filled every corner of the ship, Do-young knew something was very wrong. He dropped his tools and ran toward the main corridor. Other people were running too. Some were crying. Some were shouting. A woman grabbed his arm and screamed, "They found us. The Velrani found us." Do-young felt his blood turn cold. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Velrani. They were conquerors. They had destroyed 200 star systems. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with skin as black as space itself. Their skin shimmered like it held thousands of tiny stars. Their eyes burned like dying suns, orange and red and full of fire. They did not see humans as equals. To the Velrani, humans were insects, pests, things to be crushed. And now they had found the Eternal Dawn. Do-young reached the observation deck just in time to see the enemy ship. It was massive. It blocked out the stars behind it like a mountain made of metal. The name on its hull was written in Velrani script, but Do-young had heard stories about this ship. It was called the Crimson Throne, and it belonged to the most feared commander in the entire Velrani Empire, Kira Yuna, the Void's daughter. They said she had never left survivors. In 40 years of war, she had killed millions. She burned planets. She destroyed fleets. When her ship appeared in your sky, death was already certain. The Eternal Dawn shook as the first attack hit. Do-young was thrown against the wall. He heard metal screaming and people dying. The lights went out, then came back, then went out again. Smoke filled the air. He could not breathe. He could not think. He did not know how long the attack lasted. Maybe minutes. Maybe hours. When it finally stopped, Do-young was lying on the floor, surrounded by broken glass and blood that was not his own. Velrani soldiers found him there. They were exactly like the stories said. Tall. Terrifying. Their armor was red like blood, and their weapons glowed with pale blue light. They did not speak. They just grabbed Do-young and dragged him through the destroyed corridors of his ship. He saw bodies everywhere. People he had known. People he had eaten breakfast with. People who had smiled at him in the hallways. Now they were just empty shells, their eyes staring at nothing. The soldiers brought Do-young to the cargo bay. Other survivors were already there, maybe 50 or 60 people. They were kneeling on the floor with their hands behind their heads. Velrani soldiers stood around them, weapons ready. And in the center of it all stood Commander Kira Yuna. She was taller than the other Velrani. Her armor was darker, almost purple, and it fit her body like a second skin. Her hair was long and white, pulled back from her face. Her eyes were not orange like her soldiers. They were silver, cold and sharp like blades. She held no weapon. She did not need one. Do-young was pushed to his knees beside the other survivors. He stared at the floor, his heart beating so fast he thought it might explode. This was the end. He was going to die here, in this cargo bay, on his knees like an animal. The commander walked slowly in front of the prisoners. Her boots made no sound on the metal floor. She stopped in front of a young man, looked at him for a moment, then moved on. She stopped in front of an old woman, looked at her, moved on. She was choosing who would die first. Diane closed his eyes. He thought about his grandmother. She had died 5 years ago, back on Earth. She used to hold his hand and trace the strange birthmark on his left wrist. It was a pattern of lines and dots that looked almost like a constellation. She called it the constellation's kiss. She said it meant he was special. He never believed her. He felt the commander stop in front of him. He opened his eyes. Kira Yuna was looking down at him. Her silver eyes were studying his face like he was a puzzle she needed to solve. Diane stared back, too scared to look away. He waited for her to raise her hand. He waited for death. But then her eyes moved down, to his wrist, to the birthmark. Her whole body went still. For a long moment, nobody moved. The soldiers looked confused. The other prisoners held their breath. Diane did not understand what was happening. Kira Yuna spoke one word. It was in the old Velrani language, a word Doyen did not know. But the soldiers knew it. They gasped. Some of them stepped backward. One of them dropped his weapon. The commander reached down and grabbed Doyen's arm. She lifted his wrist to her face and stared at the birthmark. Her silver eyes were wide now. Her hands were shaking. "Take him," she said in perfect human language. Her voice was cold, but something else was hiding beneath it. Something that sounded almost like fear. "Take him to my quarters. Guard him with your lives. If anyone touches him, I will kill them myself." 2 soldiers grabbed Doyen and pulled him to his feet. He tried to fight, but they were too strong. "Wait," he shouted. "What are you doing? Why are you taking me? What about the others?" Kira Yuna did not answer. She turned back to the other prisoners. She raised her hand. "No!" Doyen screamed. "Please, let them go. They are innocent. They are just colonists." The commander paused. She looked at him over her shoulder. For 1 second, Doyen thought he saw something human in her eyes. Something sad. Then she turned away. Doyen heard the weapons fire as the soldiers dragged him out of the cargo bay. He heard the screams. Then he heard nothing at all. The soldiers took him through the Crimson Throne. It was a ship made of nightmares. Dark corridors. Strange symbols on the walls. Air that smelled like metal and something older. Something ancient. They brought him to a room that was larger than his entire apartment back on the Eternal Dawn. They pushed him inside and locked the door. Diane stood in the middle of the room, shaking. He looked at his wrist, at the birthmark that had been there since the day he was born. What did it mean? Why did the commander spare him? Why did her soldiers look so scared? The door opened. Kira Yuna walked in, alone this time. She stood in front of Diane, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. "Why?" Doyen finally asked. His voice was broken. "Why did you kill them? Why did you keep me alive?" The commander tilted her head. She studied him like he was something strange and impossible. "Because," she said slowly, "the stars claimed you for me 10,000 years before your species crawled from the mud." Diane did not understand. He could not understand. But as he looked into her silver eyes, he felt something cold settle in his chest. Whatever was happening, it was far bigger than him. Far bigger than this war. Far bigger than anything he had ever imagined. And there was no escape. 2 weeks after his failed escape, Han Do-yin found something he thought was impossible. Hope. It happened during a battle. The Crimson Throne was attacking a human supply convoy, and the whole ship shook with the force of weapons fire. Do-yin was locked in his room as always, but this time, Gina had left him a small device. a communication chip hidden inside his food tray. She had whispered only 2 words before leaving: "Trust me." During the battle, when the guards were distracted, Do-young used the chip to send the signal. He did not know if anyone would receive it. He did not know if any humans were even close enough to hear. But he tried anyway. And someone heard. The rescue came 3 days later. Do-young was sleeping when the explosion woke him. The Crimson Throne shook so hard that he was thrown from his bed. Alarms screamed. Lights flashed. He heard weapons fire in the corridor outside his room. The door burst open, and 3 humans in combat armor rushed in. "Han Do-young?" One of them shouted. "We are here to get you out." Do-young could not believe it. He followed them without question, running through corridors filled with smoke and fire. Vilrani soldiers tried to stop them, but the humans fought with a fury Do-young had never seen before. They were not afraid of dying. They were only afraid of failing. They reached the docking bay where a small human ship was waiting. Do-young was pushed inside, and the ship launched before the door even closed. He looked through the window and watched the Crimson Throne grow smaller and smaller behind him. He was free, but as the ship flew away, Do-young saw something that made his chest hurt. Kira Yuna was standing in the docking bay, watching him leave. She had her weapon in her hand. She could have shot the ship. She could have ordered her soldiers to stop them. But she did not move. She just stood there, watching. She had let him go. The human ship took Do-young to a hidden base on a moon called Tethys 7. It was cold and gray and buried deep underground, but it was filled with humans. Hundreds of them. Soldiers, scientists, refugees. They were the resistance. The last organized group of humans still fighting against the Vilrani Empire. Their leader was a man named Yoon Taeson. He was older, maybe 50, with gray hair and scars on his face. His eyes were hard and tired. He had lost his wife and children to a Vilrani attack 10 years ago. Now he lived only for revenge. "You are the one from the Crimson Throne," Taeson said when they brought Do-young to him. "The one the Void's daughter kept alive." "Yes," Do-young said. "But I do not know why." "Neither do we. That is why we rescued you. We need to know what she wants with you, and whether you have been compromised." For the next week, Do-young was questioned by everyone. Soldiers, intelligence officers, even a psychologist. They asked him the same questions over and over. "What did Kira Yuna say to you? What did she do to you? Did she hurt you? Did she try to turn you against your own kind?" Do-young told them everything. About the birthmark. About the prophecy. About the bond. Most of them did not believe him. They thought he was crazy, or lying, or both. But one person listened carefully to every word. Her name was Choi Yoonji. She was a scientist, one of the smartest people on the base. She had been studying Vilrani technology and culture for years, trying to find a weakness that humans could use. When she heard about the soul mark, her eyes lit up with excitement. "Let me examine it," she said. "The birthmark on your wrist. I have equipment that can analyze it at the molecular level." Do-young agreed. He had nothing to lose. The examination took 3 hours. When it was done, Yoonji looked at her results with an expression Do-young could not read. Shock, maybe. Or fear. "This is not just a birthmark," she said slowly. "It contains trace elements of an unknown energy signature. I have seen this signature before in ancient ruins across the galaxy. Ruins that are millions of years old. Older than the Vilrani. Older than humans. Older than any species we know." "What does that mean?" Do-young asked. "It means the prophecy might be real. It means you and the Vilrani commander are connected by something very old and very powerful. And I have no idea what will happen if that connection fully wakes up." The news spread through the base quickly. Some people looked at Do-young with new fear. others with new hope. If the Velerni's greatest commander was bound to a human, maybe that could be used. Maybe it could be a weapon. Tayson called a meeting of all the leaders. They argued for hours about what to do. Some wanted to kill Doyen before the bond could be completed. Better safe than sorry. Others wanted to study him, to learn more about this strange power. A few even suggested sending him back to Kirayuna as a spy. Dayun sat in the corner and listened to them argue about his life like he was not even there. Then the alarm started. A message was coming in on all channels. Human channels. Velerni channels. Every ship and station in the sector. The message was from Kirayuna. Her face appeared on every screen in the base. Her silver eyes looked tired. Her voice was steady, but there was something underneath it. Something Doyen recognized. Desperation. Han Doyen, she said. I know you can hear me. The Velerni High Council has ordered your death. They say that a bond between a Velerni commander and a human is an abomination. They have given me one choice. Recapture you and kill you, or be executed myself. The room was silent. Everyone stared at the screen. I refused, Kira continued. I killed the admiral they sent to enforce the order. But now they are sending a fleet. A fleet coming for you, not to capture you, but to destroy everything you touch. Every human base. Every human ship. Everyone who helped you escape. Doyen felt cold. This was his fault. All of this was his fault. I am coming for you, Han Doyen, not to kill you, not to capture you. I am coming to save you, because the prophecy is larger than either of us. There are things you do not know. Things about the Velerni. Things about humans. Things about a danger that will consume the entire galaxy if we do not stop it. She paused. For a moment, her cold mask slipped, and Doyen saw the woman underneath. The woman who had been alone for 400 years. The bond is not a curse, she said. It is the only hope any of us have. Please, trust me. Just this once. The transmission ended. The room exploded into chaos. People were shouting, arguing, panicking. A Velerni fleet was coming. They had to evacuate. They had to run. They had to hide. But Doyen stood still in the middle of it all, thinking about what he had seen. Kirayuna had defied her own government. She had killed one of her own people. She was risking her life, her career, everything for him. For a human she barely knew. Why? Was it just the bond? Was it just ancient magic controlling her actions? Or was there something more? Tayson grabbed Doyen's arm. We are leaving, he said. Now, before that fleet arrives. Doyen nodded. But as they ran toward the evacuation ships, he looked up at the gray sky of Tethys 7. Somewhere out there, Kirayuna was coming for him. And for the first time, Doyen was not sure if he should run or wait. The human fleet escaped from Tethys 7 just hours before the Velerni arrived. They scattered across the stars like seeds in the wind, hiding in asteroid fields and nebulas, staying one step ahead of death. But Han Doyen was not thinking about escape anymore. He was thinking about the ancient texts that Choi Yunji had found. She had discovered them in a database captured from a Velerni research station. They were written in a language so old that even the Velerni could not read most of it. But Yunji was brilliant. She spent days working on the translation, barely sleeping, barely eating. When she finally called Doyen to her small laboratory, she looked like she had seen a ghost. The prophecy, she said. It is not just about love or destiny. It is about something much bigger. She showed him the translated texts on her screen. The words were strange and terrifying. The binding of stars says that the soul-marked pair will either unite the fractured stars or tear the veil between life and void. There are two paths, creation or destruction. And according to these texts, we are running out of time. What is the void? Diane asked. Yunji's face was pale. It is a dimension of pure entropy, pure darkness. It exists outside our universe, pressing against the walls of reality. And those walls are weakening. Have been weakening for millions of years. Why? Because of war, pain, hatred. Every act of destruction feeds the void and makes the walls thinner. The Velrani conquest has been pushing us closer to the breaking point. When the walls finally break, the void will pour through and consume everything. Every star, every planet, every living thing. Diane felt the weight of those words settle on his shoulders. This was not just about him and Kira anymore. This was about everything. And the bond? He asked. How does that stop it? Yunji shook her head. I do not know yet. But the texts mention a place. A temple on a world called Oriveth. The oldest temple in the known universe. They say the answers are there. That night, Diane made a decision that would change everything. He sent a message to Kirayuna, a simple message with simple words. Oriveth. Meet me there. I want to know the truth. 3 weeks later, he arrived at Oriveth alone. It was a neutral planet, a world so ancient and sacred that even the Velrani did not claim it. The temple rose from the gray dust like a mountain of black stone, carved with symbols that hurt Diane's eyes when he looked at them too long. Kira was already there, waiting at the temple's entrance. She was not wearing her armor. She was dressed in simple black clothes, and she looked smaller somehow. More human, more tired. There were dark circles under her silver eyes. You came alone, she said. That was either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, Diane said. I want answers, Kira, real answers. Not prophecies or legends. I want to know what is happening to us and why. Kira nodded. Then let us find out together. They walked into the temple side by side. The air inside was cold and heavy, like the air before a storm. Ancient machines lined the walls, covered in dust and forgotten by time. But as Diane and Kira walked deeper into the temple, the machines began to wake up. Lights flickered on. Strange sounds filled the air. Something was responding to their presence. They reached the heart of the temple. A great circular room with a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness. In the center of the room was a platform, and on the platform were 2 circles carved into the stone. Stand here, Kira said, pointing to one of the circles. I will stand in the other. The texts say this is where the truth is revealed. Diane hesitated. He looked at Kira, this woman who had killed his friends and destroyed his home. This woman who had chased him across the stars. This woman who looked at him with eyes full of loneliness and something that might have been love. He stepped into the circle. The moment he did, the room exploded with light. Diane could not see, could not hear, could not feel his own body. He was floating in a sea of stars, watching images flash past him faster than thought. He saw the beginning. A single species, beautiful and powerful, living on a world of crystal and light. They called themselves the first children. They built wonders. They traveled to distant galaxies. They lived for millions of years in peace and harmony. Then came the catastrophe, a cosmic event that tore their world apart. The first children were split into pieces, scattered across the universe. Over millions of years, those pieces evolved into different species. The Velrani, humans, dozens of others, all descended from the same ancient people. They had forgotten. They had become enemies. And every war they fought fed the void and brought the universe closer to destruction. Diane saw the soul marks now. He understood. They were a failsafe, a way to bring the scattered children back together. A reminder that they were all connected all family, all part of the same whole. And the bond between him and Kira was the key. Two representatives of the divided species coming together. If they could complete the bond, if they could truly accept each other, it would send a signal across the galaxy. A signal that could wake up the memory of unity in every living being. But if they failed, if they rejected the bond, the void would break through. The vision ended. Diane was back in the temple, gasping for breath. Kira was standing across from him, her eyes wide with shock. "You saw it too," she whispered. "Yes, we are family. Humans in Mavarani. We were one people once. Yes." Kira's hands were shaking. "I have spent 400 years conquering, killing. I thought I was serving my people, but I was just feeding the darkness. I was making everything worse." Diane did not know what to say. He did not know how to comfort the woman who had caused him so much pain. But in that moment, looking at her broken face, he felt something shift inside him. She was not a monster. She was lost, just like everyone else. "We can fix it," he said. "We can choose a different path." Before Kira could answer, the temple shook. Explosions echoed from outside. Voices shouted in the distance. "The Hollow Ones," Kira said, her face going hard. "A cult of Varani who believe the prophecy means destruction. They want to tear open the void themselves. They have been hunting me since I defied the council. And they found us. Yes." The Hollow Ones poured into the temple like a dark wave. There were dozens of them, dressed in black robes, carrying weapons that glowed with sick purple light. Their leader stepped forward, a tall Voran with half his face covered in scars. "Commander Kira Yuna," he said, "you have betrayed your people for a human insect. The council has sentenced you to death. But we will do something worse. We will complete the prophecy our way. We will tear the veil and let the void remake the universe." Kira stepped in front of Diane. "You will have to go through me first." The battle was brutal. Kira fought like a demon, her body moving faster than Doyoung could follow. She killed 5 of them in the first minute, 10 in the second. But there were too many. They kept coming, and she was getting tired. A blade caught her side. She stumbled. Another blade found her shoulder. She fell to one knee. Dione watched in horror as the woman who had terrified empires was slowly brought down by her own people. He wanted to help, but he had no weapon, no training, no power. Then he looked at his wrist, at the birthmark that had started everything. The bond. He did not understand it. He did not know how to use it. But he closed his eyes and reached deep inside himself, searching for that connection he had been trying to deny. He found it. A thread of warmth running from his heart to Kira's. A connection older than either of them. He pulled. Energy exploded from his body. It was not a weapon. It was something else. Something that pushed back the Hollow Ones. Something that wrapped around Kira and lifted her up. The cultists screamed and retreated, blinded by light they could not understand. When it was over, Daeun fell to his knees, exhausted. Kira lay beside him, bleeding from a dozen wounds. "You saved me," she whispered. "Why?" Daeun looked at her. He thought about all the reasons he had to hate her. All the reasons he should let her die. Then he thought about the vision. About family. About unity. About a universe that desperately needed healing. "Because you are not just my enemy," he said. "You are my burden, my responsibility. And I am not going to let you die, Kira. Not today. Not ever." Kira's silver eyes filled with tears. For the first time since he had met her, she looked completely human. "I never wanted to be your enemy," she whispered. "I only wanted to finally not be alone." Daeun took her hand. It was cold and bloody, but he held it anyway. "You are not alone anymore," he said. "Neither of us is." Outside, More hollow ones were coming. The fight was not over. The danger was not past. But something had changed between them. Something had finally broken through. And the universe held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Han Doyen learned something important in the days after the battle at Oriveth. He learned that healing someone who had lived for 400 years was not easy. He used the ancient knowledge from the temple visions to save Kira Yuna's life. The energy that flowed through their bond was like nothing he had ever felt before. It was warm and strange and powerful. It closed her wounds and repaired her body. But it also did something else. It opened a door between their minds. Now, when Kira was near, Doyen could feel her emotions. Her sadness. Her hope. Her fear. He could sense where she was, even with his eyes closed. And she could sense him too. The partial bond was complete. They were connected now, whether they liked it or not. "We need to go to Ethon Prime," Kira said when she was strong enough to stand. "To the throne world, to face the High Council." Doyen stared at her. "That is the heart of the Volrini Empire. They will kill us both. Maybe, but the Hollow Ones will not stop. They have already opened small rifts to the void across the galaxy. Every day, the darkness grows stronger. We need to show the Council the truth. We need to make them understand, and if they do not listen..." Kira's silver eyes met his. "Then we die trying. But at least we will die together." They traveled to Ethon Prime on Kira's personal ship, just the two of them. The journey took 12 days. During those 12 days, something strange happened. They talked. Not about war or prophecy or the fate of the universe. They talked about small things. Kira told Doyen about her childhood. About her mother, who had loved her. About her father, who had taught her to fight. About the first time she saw a star die and cried for a week. Doyen told Kira about Earth. About the smell of rain on hot pavement. About his grandmother's cooking. About the nights he spent looking at the stars and wondering if anyone was looking back. They were still enemies. Still strangers. Still carrying the weight of all the death between them. But slowly, carefully, they were becoming something else too. When they arrived at Ethon Prime, the Volrini fleet surrounded them immediately. 100 warships, all pointing their weapons at Kira's tiny vessel. "Commander Kira Yuna," a voice said over the communication system. "You are under arrest for treason. Surrender immediately." Kira looked at Doyen. "Ready?" "No," he said honestly. "But let us do it anyway." They surrendered without a fight. Volrini soldiers took them to the great palace at the center of Ethon Prime. It was beautiful and terrifying. A building made of black glass that seemed to swallow light. Inside, the High Council waited. There were 7 of them, the oldest and most powerful Volrini in the Empire. They sat on thrones of silver, looking down at Kira and Doyen like they were insects. "Commander Kira Yuna," the head of the council said. Her name was Elder Voss, and she was 2,000 years old. "You have defied our orders. You have killed Admiral Rikan. You have protected a human instead of destroying him. What do you have to say for yourself?" Kira bowed her head. "I say that I was wrong. Not about protecting the human. About everything else. About the war. About the conquest. About everything we have been doing for 10,000 years." The council members stirred. This was not what they expected. "Explain yourself," Elder Voss said coldly. Kira looked up. "We are killing ourselves. Every planet we burn, every species we destroy, we are feeding the void. We are making the walls of reality weaker. And soon, very soon, those walls will break, and the darkness will consume everything, including us." "Prophecy nonsense," another council member said. "Old stories for children." "It is not nonsense," Doyen said. Everyone turned to look at him, the small human standing in the heart of the Volrini Empire. I saw it. In the temple at Oriveth. I saw where we all came from. Humans, Varani, dozens of other species. We were all one people once. The first children. And we forgot. We forgot that we are family. He held up his wrist, showing them the soul mark. This mark is not just for me and Kira. It is a reminder. A message from our ancestors. They wanted us to remember. They wanted us to come back together. Because only together can we stop what is coming. The council was silent. Diane could see the doubt in their eyes. The confusion. The fear. Then Elder Voss spoke again. Even if this is true, it changes nothing. The war has gone on too long. There is too much hatred. Too much blood. The Varani people will never accept peace with humans. Then show them something they cannot deny, Kira said. She stepped forward and took Doyen's hand. Show them the bond. Diane understood what she meant. They had only partially activated the bond before. To fully complete it, they both had to choose it, willingly, completely, not because the stars demanded it, but because they wanted it. He looked at Kira, the woman who had killed his friends, the woman who had haunted his nightmares, the woman who had searched for him for 400 years, the woman who had let him escape, who had defied her empire for him, who had almost died protecting him. He did not love her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But he understood her. And in that understanding, there was something that might one day become love. Are you sure? He asked. No, she said. But I choose you anyway. They closed their eyes. They reached for the bond together. Light erupted from their joined hands. It was brighter than any sun. It filled the throne room and poured out through the windows. It rose into the sky of Ethon Prime and spread across the stars. Every Velrani on the planet felt it. Every human across the galaxy felt it. For one perfect moment, they all remembered. They remembered being one people, one family. They remembered the joy of unity and the pain of separation. They remembered what they had lost. And in that moment, the walls of reality grew stronger. The void screamed. Across the galaxy, the rifts the Hollow Ones had opened began to close. The darkness retreated, pushed back by the light of two souls finally coming together. When it was over, Diane and Kira stood in the center of the throne room, still holding hands. The High Council stared at them in shock. Elder Voss rose from her throne. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, slowly, she bowed her head. It seems, she said, that we have been wrong about many things. The war did not end that day. Too much blood had been spilled for that. Too many wounds needed to heal. But an armistice was declared. The fighting stopped. For the first time in 100 years, Velrini and humans were not trying to kill each other. It was a beginning. Just a beginning. True peace would take generations to build. But it was more than anyone had thought possible. 3 months later, Diane stood on the observation deck of a joint human-Velrini space station. It was the first of its kind, a place where both species could meet and work together. Outside the window, stars were being born in a distant nebula. New light, new hope. Kira walked up beside him. She was wearing human clothes now, a simple gray shirt and dark pants. She looked strange without her armor. More real, more alive. I have been thinking, she said. That sounds dangerous. Very funny. She almost smiled. I spent 400 years preparing to meet my soul-marked. I imagined a warrior, a king, someone worthy of legends. Instead, I got a maintenance engineer who tried to escape through an air vent. Diane laughed. It surprised him. He had not laughed in a long time. And I got the deadliest commander in the galaxy, who apparently cannot take a hint. I ran away 3 times, Kira. 3 times. 4 times, she corrected. You forgot the incident with the escape pod. That one did not count. I did not even make it out of the docking bay. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. After a while, Kira's hand found his. The stars marked you as mine, she said quietly. But I think you were always meant to mark yourself as your own first. You were never my prize or my possession. You were always your own person. Doyen nodded. Maybe that is the whole point. We are not bound because the universe said so. We are bound because we decided to be. Because we chose each other, even when it was hard. Even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt, Kira agreed. She turned to look at him. Her silver eyes were soft now, warm in a way he had never seen before. I do not know if I can ever make up for what I did, she said. The lives I took. The pain I caused. I will carry that weight forever. I know, Doyen said. I will not pretend to forgive you. Not completely. Not yet. But I can try to understand. And maybe, with time, understanding can become something more. Kira nodded. It was enough. It was more than she had ever dared to hope for. Above them, the nebula bloomed with new stars. Light pushed back the darkness. Life continued. And two souls, once enemies, now stood together at the edge of tomorrow, ready to face whatever came next. Not because destiny demanded it, but because they chose it, together.